Wow, are we live? We've had a little bit of little technical things, and that's mainly because it is apparently a Cat 3 outside the crib right now. But in a different environment, we've got my co-host over here, old Rusi. Nice, got some little paraphernalia, dude. Big
Dude,
paraphernalia guy.
shout out to my boy Tyler, man,
Big
for
LSU Legends room guy.
big LSU Legends Room. Gives me a nice camera view. I'm gonna have to start coming every year, every episode.
Yeah,
What's up, man? We're here. It's a random Thursday for like Louisiana weather, so um, just par for the course.
yeah. No, not only is it par for the course, not only is it par for the course, but it's so annoying because every time I feel like we try to do something as it relates to the show or like go live early, we end up just going back on the same time because we always I'll lose power for 5 seconds. I mean that's what I get for buying a home and paying a mortgage, right? But dude, as you can see, as all of you can see, we got a little bit of upgrades here in the studio. You got to invest in yourself. You got to spend a little bit of money to make a little bit of money. So as it relates to the lighting in here, I know I've certainly been fighting that since I've bought this home. The lighting in this house is absolutely not great. Halogen bulbs, get rid of them. They're done. It's over. And a little bit of mic and audio, little studio upgrade, dude. Big upgrade guy. But look, we're not gonna try to get away from the information too much further. We're certainly not gonna stray away from the obvious. Um, Nothing big recently happened in Baton Rouge, right? No newsy days or
Look, I'm just gonna add this to the bottom for the ticker because I think a lot of fans caught their breath when they saw the news. What was that? Between like 2 and 3 yesterday. The rumor mills go crazy during practice because like there's only a limited amount of people watching, right? So
mm,
if you were on Twitter or X yesterday, um, crazy tweets were going out. So
it
I'm
was
giving it up to you.
brother, I had so like a peek behind the curtains. Um, I had a few people, like a couple of like the people that I work with, and you know what I do for a living. And so for those people who you would kind of think are busy at the time, I mean it's 2 o'clock. It's like 2 o'clock, 2:15. I'm getting eye emojis. I'm getting, oh my God, what's going on? Like, do you know? And I'm like, guys, I mean, there's a couple of people that I can ask, but yeah, Twitter went nuts, and so it was basically for 1 hour Mount Vesuvius in Baton Rouge. So if you ever wanted to know if Garrett ever wanted to know what he meant to the city of Baton Rouge, all he needed to do was just uh, check the aura rings of everybody that lived in Baton Rouge because mine told me. I actually think I commented this on the Instagram page that I think I lived 4 generations of stress yesterday in an hour, bro. It was so stupid. But anyway, so what from what we hear, and we will know lunch tomorrow because of course it was the first no access to the media practice that we had, right? And then today was an off day. But we will know everything live tomorrow at 12. Joe Sloan is supposed to take the podium. And I assume they're gonna what? You think they're gonna wait till the end of the press conference to ask him about it? It's going to be the first thing that they look for. You'll get a tweet, I'm sure. But anyway, so we're going to get some news about that. From what we understand, he went down, went off in the field on his own power. It could have been a cramp. A lineman could have stepped on his toe. I'm not sure how many of you have ever stood behind center before, but I'm here to tell you if anyone over 300 pounds steps on your foot in cleats, it is as if your life is over. I mean, it could have been 1,000 things, but there is apparently the circulation is that there was an MRI taken and that everything was clear and we're good to go. But I think what everyone was tripping about is he's good, and it's like, well, what does that mean? And so everyone was just kind of speculating. But because of how important Garrett is, certainly he means a lot to this team. And to be honest, Russo, we can get into that, here in just a second when we get to them and later on in the segment. None of these things that we talk about with LSU really hold its weight or have its glory, and frankly matter without him. I mean, this whole ship operates under Garrett Nussmeier. So from what you and I have both seen, they are not ready to have a backup. Michael Van Buren was brought in from Mississippi State for hey man, like you need to sit out for, a drive. Like he was really there to hold the rope. He is not there and is not the heir apparent. He's nowhere from what I've seen. I have not really seen anything to say that he's anywhere close to be ready to go on the road and play at Clemson. So if it means you put him in bubble wrap and sit him in an office for a few days and get him, back ready to go before he gets some reps, I'm cool with Garrett sitting out for a couple. I know he needs the reps, but
what's your thoughts, I guess, just early on about the reports of the O-line getting quote unquote dominated maybe early on? Do you think that's a testament to the D-line, or are there struggles with the O-line? Both? Like, what's your thoughts on that?
So honestly, I think it's a little bit of both, and I know that's a cop-out, but I think it's likely fair to assume that the D-line is typically ahead of the offensive line, especially in college football. Neither you or I played college football, but we've been around this, and I use the word covered very loosely. We have studied this quite a long time enough to know that typically on a good defense, you are ahead of the offense. It's like in the solo drills, in the position drills, one-on-one, the O-line does fine. So it's whenever you put everything together that all of a sudden you've got Bernard Goodwin beating double teams. And I understand that there's a lot of talk about the gelling and the offensive line needs to come together. And, this is going to take some time. Dude, they've got 3 starters on the O-line. They just didn't start. 2 of them just didn't start for you. I mean, I think at guard is likely where you're probably going to see the most we'll see out of all of them. I think you're locked up at center. I think you're locked up at your tackles. I think your center and tackle is fine. It's DJ Chester at the left guard. I think DJ Chester is a much better guard than a center. I think he is entirely too big to be a center. He's literally huge, but it's still a leverage thing. So for Bernard Goodwin, who probably is 3 or 4 inches shorter than him and giving him all he can handle, that's not that uncommon. Like it's not that uncommon for a shorter in stature, fierce, active with his hands guy to give, a guy that big struggle. And Josh Thompson's having trouble with him too. But literally so is everybody. Like Bernard Goodwin is going to be one of those players that when we get to the Clemson game, there are going to be people that go, who is 88? Like, who is that? Like, literally, who is that? And it's because he was the second to last person that you signed, and he was in the spring, and it just so happens that he, so far, is your diamond in the rough. And I think Kyle Williams has given him as much of, hey, buddy, I've been here. I've been your size. I've done this role. This is what that looks like. And it's a little bit of extra to that. So my thoughts are, honestly, they do need some time. But getting beat on a double team isn't necessarily a gelling thing. That's kind of an effort and knowing what you're doing thing. And so I think the one thing that I will say, and I will credit a couple of people to this. I think the freshman, I think Carius Kern has been the one that people have spoken about to have some pretty strong, aggressive, fierce, fast hands, and has proven to be strong enough to do it. Bro, if you're having issues at guard, slide his big ass in there. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you've got a willing guard or a willing body to, with the talent and the physicality and the strength, put him in there. And I know that you went and got Josh Thompson for this reason, so that you would not be, worried about the starters. But brother, he's getting reps at the second left tackle's position. They will forget more football than you or I will ever know, Russo. But, and as you can tell, I never played O-line. But if you need someone to get in there, and if you're having trouble at right guard or left or whatever, you got to stick Carius Kern in there and see what he can give you and let it eat, because you're not going to be able to. You're not going to be able to wait forever. Like it's almost like, hey, we're going to see how a couple drives goes, and we're going to see what Peter Woods and TJ Parker are doing to us. And hey, big dog, you might need to play. Like, you might need to give us a snap or two. And and let it eat. Because Garrett really just needs time to get the ball into these receivers' hands, bro. He really just needs a little bit. And Caden Durham has shown you he can find a crease with a less than great rushing attack. And I'm being generous. So a little bit of space, a little bit of hold up, and I think you'll be fine.
Well, hopefully we get some good news tomorrow from Media Day, and just fingers crossed, man. You just hate seeing news like that this early on. So 10 minutes in, let's get into the main premise of the video, which is, we took a lot of time going through every SEC team this year, and we went through their schedules game by game, and we're going to break down each team. Hopefully, a little bit. There will be some details in some games, but some teams, you'll notice aren't worth the time of day. So we'll get started, man. Let me get us pulled up here. And here we go. So we're going to start in alphabetical order and just go down the line, man. Let me get this off. So Bama, we've got the schedule laid out here. Didn't include bye weeks, kind of just included the games. And then on the right, you'll see the FanDuel and DraftKings odds. Please, if you see any other variants for the other sites like Bet365 and anything other, please let us know. Otherwise, we'll keep you on the lookout for that. So, Trey, let's get started. Bama 10-2. What do you see here as far as their schedule? Lots of must-win games on here. We gave them a loss against South Carolina and Georgia this year. So, what are your thoughts as we explain and get through this?
So this one is actually one of the more tougher. And I've said this to Russo off stream. I need everyone to not freak out on when you look from a 10,000-foot view at these teams. If you get good quarterback play, this roster is good enough to do some stuff that the rest of the SEC is probably not comfortable with admitting. And if their quarterback is bad, then we could be off by 2 or 3 games. Like if you have bad quarterback play, and I think that they've got 2 options. They're projected to be fine. You've got some horses in the stable on both sides of the football. I don't think Florida State is going to be a good football team this year. I don't necessarily think that that's too far-fetched to say. I definitely don't. I don't think that this is not the team that you've seen play LSU for the last few years. I don't think that they'll be as bad as last year, but it's very hard for me to see that team come back and be worth me betting on them to cover the spread against Bama, despite even being at home. So to not make this difficult, I think they beat FSU. I don't think that's close. I think they throttle ULM. And I also don't think that the Wisconsin game holds as much weight as we thought maybe it would, even 2-3 years ago. It seems like Luke Fickell is kind of trying to get his skis under him, but I don't think he's going to get it in time enough to compete with Georgia. I mean, with Bama rather. And then you end up going to a game at Georgia, and you and I both remember this game last year. I think Alabama had every right to lose it, and I think that is. I'm not entirely sure that this is going to be that much different of a talent of a game, man. Like both of these teams project the same to me. So you give the lean to the home team. Sue us. Is that, you know what I mean?
That's fair. I mean, I think their season comes down to mainly 4 games, right? I think it was Georgia, South Carolina, LSU, and Auburn. Playing at Jordan-Hare is always tough. So like that's always a coin flip. I don't give a crap what the teams are, right? LSU with the team, depending on where we're at, they always have a bye prior to that. So does LSU. So like that's always an anticipated game. And then before that bye, you have South Carolina. So like the timing of those 3 weeks with South Carolina, the bye, and LSU are tough. And then you've got a trap game with Oklahoma. Oklahoma, you're going to see is probably our biggest what if. Like maybe not biggest what if, but like the team that can play spoiler a lot for teams here that are competing hard. And if you see to the right, we have our FanDuel and DraftKings odds, the pretty consistent at 9.5. Recommended, of course, we have them going 10-2. So bet the over. It's a decent number. And really, you only really have to worry about those 4 games we talked about. If you can go 2-2 in those, you're going to go 10-2. So that's where we stand on that. Anything else to add?
Really, I mean, and honestly, beating Vandy on the road at Mizzou and then beating Tennessee, I don't really think that that's too crazy. And I know there's kind of like if you were to pick them to lose on the road, I could understand people being confused between it being South Carolina and Auburn. And if you were to look on it at face value, typically you would say it would be more likely for them to lose at Auburn than at South Carolina. But understand what exactly you're doing, right? So you go to Georgia and then you play Vandy at the crib. You then go to Missouri and then you play Tennessee at the crib. You're not only coming off of an emotional Tennessee game. I don't know that a lot of people in Louisiana that don't watch other than LSU football teams, like I'm just giving Louisiana as an example, bro, they hate Tennessee and Tennessee hates them. So for you to leave that game to then travel on the road to go to South Carolina, which you and I both saw firsthand how many teams were rattled by playing in South Carolina. That's a rowdy environment. And then, of course, you have the bye week before LSU. But coming off of that game, it's I don't necessarily want to say look ahead, but it feels like if there was a trap game in there somewhere, that felt like the one. So it felt to me like you would put them there and then –
it's a tough stretch. Like it's beyond those 4 games.
It is.
Right? Like that is a tough stretch after Vandy, between Vandy and Eastern Illinois. I mean, that's
Sure.
tough. Now I think they'll overcome most of it, but we'll see. I mean, if they don't, we're going to start talking about how big of a factor Saban really was. Right? Obviously, it's hard to replace him, but you pay a lot of money to get that next guy in, and he's struggling. That would be a tough look and a big storyline going into next year. But
Absolutely.
We got my 10-2. It's not on the betting card, just a recommendation based on our predictions. But we'll quickly dive into here with Arkansas. We've got them 4-8, and I think the big headline is Sam Pittman's on the hot seat. They just have to win some games this year. I mean, like, Memphis is even a tough game for him, but like you've got to have a win in there against someone, like one of those road games against Ole Miss, against Tennessee, against LSU, and maybe even against an Auburn and A&M. Like you've got to win some of those games to stay afloat here. I just don't see it happening. I think we were pretty aligned here at 4-8. There might be some variance with Missouri depending on how they end up. I think Notre Dame holds on and beats them. Thoughts here? That Memphis game's even tough within itself. So, I mean, like, what are your thoughts here? I mean, obviously 5.5 is their win total, and it's juiced towards the under. I think we got this one right.
I mean, I think so too, man. I think everyone loves Sam Pittman, and I don't want to say this with any bit of any hatred in my heart. I would have Sam Pittman on my football team. I love him as a coach. A lot of people do, but you're not set up for success with this schedule. I mean, you could easily give me. I mean, depending on how Tennessee looks, depending on how Auburn looks, depending on how Missouri looks, I mean, are those a little bit more winnable? But this doesn't feel all that hard. I just don't see anything from last year that makes me think that I would go 6-6 on this schedule. I mean, this is a pretty brutal stretch.
This is a add to the card, a little juice on the 5.5. Mm-hmm. Even at 4.5, I'm considering it, but this is definitely on the betting card, and if we can get a parlay together, which will be on our social media apps before the season, we'll probably definitely add this one. This is on my card for sure. I just don't see them getting the 6. I think the line will continue to drop and it'll get juiced at the 5.5. So I think 4.5 is probably the right number. But 5.5, smash the under. I don't think there's really much more to talk about outside.
I think they're very similar with this team that we're about to talk about next, and that's Auburn. And man, I'm similar in regards to what we're seeing. I understand how this looks. Their schedule just isn't that crazy. Like, their schedule isn't that crazy. First of all, they could lose to Baylor in week 1, and this is going to go to hell in a handbasket.
That's why I put must win week 1. I mean, I think week 1 sets the tone for their season. I mean, because you're really going to get a grasp of, okay, can they hang with teams like Oklahoma, A&M, even Missouri? Those are 3 games that we have them going 0-3 in or 1-2 in. So, like, right. Those are going to tell the tale after week 1. Obviously, they'll get a couple of breathers in Ball State and South Alabama, but I would stay away from this. The recommended bet is 7.5. But I wouldn't say there's a lot of variance here, but week 1 sets the tone. And really, that number is going to be kind of determined on week 1, in my opinion. So that's a stay away from me. But, I mean, and it's just weird. I said this earlier. It's just weird seeing no LSU on here.
So, I will say this too, brother. Like, you're going to have to get more comfortable with teams having, 2, 3, and 4 losses. If the SEC is going to go to this expanded model with more games, like, this is going to be more common. Like, a undefeated and 1-loss SEC team, the way that it's being recruited at this point and scheduled at this point, like, bruh. And again, like, could they easily lose to Missouri? Yeah. Could they lose at Vanderbilt? So 1,000% they could. Vanderbilt literally beat Alabama last year. And I don't see why Bama would not. I mean, why Vandy wouldn't be just as good as last year. Yeah, second year in the system. Diego Pavia comes back. That offense is still rolling. I'm aware that there are people that say this is a 6-6 football team. The way they're recruiting is Hugh in it. Like, is he playing too much golf here lately? All fair. So we'll see, brother. But I'm telling you right now, I'm gonna be beachside because I'm actually. So my family and I and my wonderful significant other, my better half, shout out Sugarfoot, my sister and her boyfriend, we are all going to be at the beach. So I will be, when I tell you I'm going to be on Do Not Disturb, I will have you as probably the lone person with access to get my for me to get the notifications while on Do Not Disturb because it's going to be me and iPad and me waterside because it's going to be, I'm going to be tuned into that game. They could easily lose to Baylor in the first week, and we're going to revisit this on the 2 days later and be like, bro, what the hell happened?
I think you get even kind of similar here with Florida.
This is my favorite one.
And I think the story here is like this team can go anywhere from 5-7 to 9-3.
I agree. 100%.
Like, if you look at all the teams here, like, look at these 50-50 games you've got, man. Like, and maybe not necessarily 50-50. It's just games that are going to be tough that they could win. And I think this is a true testament to the SEC this season specifically, is that I don't necessarily think there's going to be a huge number of powerhouses. Obviously, we have, teams like Alabama, Texas, Georgia towards the top, and they're going to win theirs. But I think after that, you're going to see a lot of deserving teams for the playoff that are going to be somewhere between 7-5 and 9-3 that won't make the playoffs. And that's just a testament to how deep the SEC is. Me and you kind of differed on Miami here.
Yeah.
That's a tough game, bro.
It is.
And I think it's tough to judge a team based on the past, but that bowl game against Tulane last year left a bad taste in my mouth for DJ Lagway. Now, he is one of the better quarterbacks in the SEC this year. But watching that game, Tulane's great. I get it. Like, I know it's a bowl game, so like you're not going to have necessarily everyone, but the throws and the choices that were made during that game scare me a little bit. So like you get Carson Beck with a team in Miami that has a great chance to be in the top 2 or 3 in the ACC and had a good transfer class. That game worries me, especially the back-to-back. And look at that. I mean, just look at the LSU, Miami, Texas, A&M, and then you get a breather, Georgia, breather, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Florida State. I mean, like that's a tough dang schedule. I just personally lean, and obviously we don't even have a recommendation on this one. This one's tough. I personally think you lean under. I think Miami gets it done, and there's a lot of, I mean, depending on how Tennessee is, they could lose that one. I mean, even Florida State, depending on that, I doubt it. But I mean, that Tennessee games, we gave them a win there, and that's tough. So Tennessee and Miami, I mean, those are 2 games they can easily lose, and this thing tilts to 5-7.
Dude, Florida's also got some interesting fans, dude. I was having a conversation with one of them literally at my gym, and it's a guy I know. He's obviously a hopeful optimist, and like every SEC fan should be in the preseason. You see a screen pass against air and no pads, and all of a sudden it's a Heisman Trophy winning team, Heisman Trophy winning quarterback in an undefeated season. And I can't understand why Vegas would have it like spam me over. Like I get it. They've got some weapons at receiver. They've got probably one of the better individual talents on the defensive line, and they've got a quarterback with all of the attributes and the makings of a good quarterback, dude. Like he's good. Like Lagway is nice, and he was certainly banged up last year and was able to play through that. But where I'm struck is say they go to LSU and win, right? Say they flip flop that. Say they beat LSU but then lose to Miami. You still have to play Texas, who is night and day better than you as it relates to a roster, and that's not close. And by the way, we would, as you'll see, there's a lot of teams that we would project Texas to beat. And then you go to Texas A&M, which time and time again has proven to show is a hard place to go and win. And then you got to go to your neutral site, and that's kind of like your Super Bowl of the year as it relates to Georgia and maybe Florida State's the Super Bowl. I don't know. I don't think Tennessee is the same Tennessee. Nico kind of made sure of that. Appreciate that, big dog. I think that you finish the season on a good note. So if Napier can end up finishing with 2 wins, then I think he'll buy himself some time. But brother, if you go the other way and you end up losing to LSU, losing to Miami, losing to Texas, losing to A&M, all of a sudden you're going into that state game and you're going, like, what do we have? And then you end up beating State, and then you lose again to Georgia. God forbid you lose to Kentucky. So what I'm saying is this is the perfect. And how healthy is Lagway going to be? Like, they've got the best medical school, like one of the better medical schools in the continental U.S. working on him right now. But I don't know, man. It's a really good case of floor is here and ceiling is up here.
No, yeah, it's great. I mean, I think you lean under. That's just me. I think we're torn on that. I'll probably personally add that under to my card. Not definitive yet, but probably in a parlay. We'll throw together a long shot.
Okay.
We can skim through a few of these now, man. I mean, I think Georgia's pretty
self-explanatory.
Yeah, I mean, tough games against Tennessee and Bama, right? That's a tough little stretch. I think they'll come out of that 2-0. And if you really want to throw in the other 3 games in Ole Miss, Florida, Texas, I mean, I just think they go 4-1 there. That Texas game is going to be interesting. We'll have, obviously this is a pre-season prediction, but like I think we'll know who's going to win that Texas game after the first 3 weeks, right?
Yeah.
I think they'll have no problem with Tennessee. Bama will be tough. Texas will be tough. Those are really the two games, I think. As long as they just go 1-1, I think the floor is 10-2.
They better not sleep on that last game of the season, big homie.
I marked it for a reason. We all watched that game. I ended up betting.
So did I. Remember that?
That
You
was
were
a
on that.
huge win. The amount of overtimes on FanDuel, I want to say it was like 4 figures for like 3+ or 4+.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we ended up smashing it. So it was nice.
But you put double the money I did.
I mean, I think 9.5. It's juiced at -170. Give that to me all day, man. That's a good parlay piece if you can get them at 9 or 10 wins. I know FanDuel is pretty flexible with that. And let's come to to Kentucky here, man.
Woo!
Life alert, I think, is probably the best answer here. And look, I marked, shout out Toledo, man. I marked Toledo as a tough game. I don't know what the spread is of that game. We looked. I don't think it was open yet, but it could be. Honestly, when you're talking, I'll look it up. But that game's going to be a little bit closer than people think. And then, I mean,
did you say we had a line on that?
I'm going to look when you talk. I don't know
okay.
or not. Week 1 should, but I remember we searched a few of these lines and didn't have a lot of success, especially down the line. But where do you find wins here, man?
I mean, you have to beat Toledo. You have to beat EM, dude. If you don't beat Eastern Michigan by a lot, you're gonna feel really, really bad going on the road twice, because this is probably, check your camera. This is probably one of the harder stretches, bruh. On the road at South Carolina, on the road at Georgia, Texas at the crib, Tennessee comes, and then you're on the road at Jordan-Hare, Florida at the crib. So you're literally going through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games of, and I forgive me for not knowing where their bye week is in here, before you get to Tennessee Tech, and then you get to go to Vanderbilt and Louisville.
9.5 on the Toledo game, by the way, at home.
9.5.
It's 2 possessions, dude.
Toledo sounds like they must not have too much. Pardon me for not knowing what.
I think Toledo's one of the better teams in the MAC. Obviously, that's just one of those games I can easily see. Oh, MAC team upsets the SEC. I have no regret either. I think we have them at 3-9 with them winning that game. I mean,
yeah.
Where you really find what's going to determine that is the last 2 games, right? I think Vandy and Louisville. I think we've got them at we got them at 2 and 8 going into those final 2 games. That's probably where you see this land at. I mean, give me the under.
I'm cool. I'm cool with that, bro. I mean,
and we just don't stick on that much longer. I mean, life alert. Give it to me all day. And I think, we've talked a lot about LSU. I think our opinions here. Clemson, can they finally win week 1? I mean, I don't think we've won since 2019. Can they finally break through? If they break through against Clemson, they will be set up for success this year.
Bro.
They can lose and still be okay. And I think they can lose, and we have them losing, and they can get through the schedule. But you've got big games this season. A lot of them are at home, but a few trap games. Obviously, I think Oklahoma at the end is going to be a tough one, and I think Ole Miss on the road is going to be a tough one. We have them winning both of those. I think they should easily get to over 8.5. Juicy number, but you get past Clemson, I don't see how you can't go 9-3 to hit that number.
Stay healthy, stay optimistic, stay balanced. You can't get too high and you can't get too low. If I'm Brian Kelly, and again, I have not watched all of the SEC Netflix documentary that came out. I was able to watch episode 1. I have not finished watching. I think it's episode 4 that LSU is super featured on. I think it's going into the Bama game. For all of the pejoratives that Brian Kelly has had to take with is he on the way out? Is he is he done caring? Like, is he really, you know what I'm saying? Like all of that concern. Thoughts on the Nussmeier ACL? We've already covered that.
Shout out
Have
Daddy
you?
Chatty, dude.
Daddy Chatty.
He hates this show, but you know, we'll shout him out for today. The ultimate
To each their
fan
own. I hope that you don't lose that hand in poker you're playing right now, Chad.
Dang, he has sources. He does have sources.
Big source guy.
Big source guy. Yeah. Look, he's
Our
we can make
commissioner
a
in
bet
chief.
online right now. Chad, if you're listening, I've got the over 8.5, and I'll give you a push on 9. If we go 9-3, it's a push. I don't know how that makes sense, right? No, yeah, maybe that's stupid. I'll have to think of it. I want to bet our fantasy football entry on LSU's over this year.
If there, for all the pejoratives that BK got about he's got 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Now he's got the money. He's done. The way he talks to these kids, I mean, literally. What up, Big Doug?
Big Doug, baby.
Big Doug guy for me. I am telling you, the dude just kicked out a receiver from 11 on 11 because he didn't know the plays, and I'm not going to call that person out. But again, you're seeing behind the scenes footage of him literally dog cussing people for not stepping the right way with the right amount of intensity. Like, people need to understand the only thing that BK needed to really truthfully get on board with was paying for the talent. I can very much have a difficult time with predicting LSU to win this first game. I arguably think that at Clemson is the hardest game they've played out of all these first games.
That nuts is over for rushing yards if you have offshore.
So, I don't. What is the number?
I don't know. It hasn't been posted yet. But I think we're going to be running the ball a lot. And I think that number historically has been good since I bet Jaden Daniels week 1, first game of the season. He killed it in the first quarter.
Can you
offshore, if you want to go through your boy, I'll charge you a little bit of commission, but I'll make the bet for you.
I am so fearfully optimistic to say I'm leaning more 9-3 than 10-2.
But 9-3 is a job done the bet.
But listen to me. If you can change the outcome of one of these games, whether it's a win or a loss, what do you think the game would be that you would change?
Clemson sets the tone.
Okay. My easy one to me is A&M. I think it's A&M followed closely by Florida. I think there is a better chance of you losing to A&M or losing to Florida than you beating Clemson. Yeah, and unfortunately, when BK yells like that, the media calls him an a-hole. But when Nick Saban does it, he's just holding his players accountable. And Doug's got a point.
Big Doug, get ready for it.
Doug's got a point. But bro, the point is, Saban did what was needed down the line. And I'm not defending. I'm just saying Saban, because he ended up getting the job done via the national championship and did it so many times, he gets the benefit to be able to say from the outside looking in that everything he does is set up to what he finished with. You know what I'm saying? So like Nick and BK could do the same thing, but when the result isn't the same, you're looking at Nick winning the championship and going, well, that's what it takes to be a champion. You got to be Coach Tar from the get-go. So I also think that with it being relative to South Carolina, and I'm just giving you an example because he just put it up, South Carolina will have a better record. Dude, it's possible. They've got a coach in Shane Beamer who's more of the motivator type. Don't get it twisted. I think they're good. A little sneak peek preview. It's just that Beamer to me is the type of guy that I'm comfortable with at South Carolina. Like, they've had some 10-win football seasons, but it feels like a lot of things would have to go right for them to get to 10 wins this year. You know what I mean? And they were very close, by the way, last year to getting 10 wins. You could argue that they should have won the LSU game. But in reality, you were right there. And it took having all of that talent on the defensive side of the ball to get to there. Can you recreate some of those close games and win them? Without a doubt, Nick has earned the respect he gets, but Nick was still an a-hole at Michigan State and the early days of LSU before he won his first natty. And that's true. And I think a-hole is probably loosely translated to the average person that's played college football or football in general is discipline. I mean, you say a-hole, I think discipline. I'm just playing devil's advocate, Doug. I'm not telling you you're right or wrong. I'm just telling you how it's looked at because of who he is and how much access we've gotten to him, that everything that he does is looked at as this is what it's taken to get him to that point. And so, again, if BK goes to the playoff, then all of a sudden it's going to be, BK's process is the process, and that process is what got him there. You know what I'm saying? So if he ends up finding a way to win that national championship against Alabama, which they were never going to win that game, by the way, they weren't. That's what it's going to take. And it's unfortunate that he does not get more credit for that, and it is because he, unfortunately, refused to accept that you need more Louisiana flavor on your coaching staff, and you need to get behind paying for talented football players. If he would have did that 2 years ago, what position are we in right now? You know what I mean? So Hannah is one of my friends from Arizona, which, by the way, recently engaged here. So congrats in the chat to Sister Hannah. I hope her kids are watching. They're a rowdy bunch.
Shout out for sure.
All right, brother. Let's steam through state. We don't need to steam. We don't need to spend a lot of time on state.
Here you go, man. What are your thoughts here, man? I mean, I think over 3.5's questionable, but I think the big 4-0 to 4-8.
I know.
Is that realistic?
Southern Miss, Arizona State, Alcorn State. Wait, you think they beat Arizona State?
Yeah.
You think they beat Arizona State?
I think they do. I mean, I think that's a close game, to be fair.
I guess that's the pivot game.
I mean, it's tough, right? I mean, I think you've only got really three close games here. So at best, you assume 2-1. At worst, you assume 1-2. We kind of gave them 1-2. I mean, I think there's definitely a realistic possibility to go at 3. So, I mean, I would probably say recommended bet is over 3.5, but I'd probably stay away from this one unless you were just very confident on Arizona State. Don't get me wrong. I think they had a lot of turnover.
I think I might.
They're getting smacked by ASU. I mean, look, dude. Let's dude. Week 2 here. We'll have a little fun on that game, maybe, huh?
Week 2 guy.
Let's move on. I think Missouri with Oklahoma, these next 2 or 3 teams are really the biggest what ifs of the SEC. You know, obviously, I think Florida, we have that variance of possibly going either 9-5 or 9-3 or 7-5 or 5-7. But I think the biggest what if here. I mean, we've got them going 7-5, pretty conservative, I think. And we did these predictions before even looking up the lines. So for the most part, we align with Vegas, which is probably a good sign, but we just know that.
Dude,
there's going to be a lot of variance in the SEC.
The quietest 10-win football team in college football history. And again, how does Arizona State 42-17? How does Oklahoma look? How does Auburn look? There's a lot of speculation around the Auburn variety. That is to say that they should not really expect to. They should not expect this season to go in their favor if Blake Shapen's not what he's hyped up to be. Leave that comment up because I want to acknowledge that. Big advocate for the stream bar.
Call me
news banner,
bro. I'm in here.
Big news banner.
A little tipsy. A little tipsy. If you can't tell, I'm slurring my words a little bit.
No, let's go to Oklahoma. Let's go to Oklahoma really quick because I really want to talk about them.
We had a last second change on here,
and I still don't know if we've changed it enough.
God,
I know.
It was Ole Miss. We changed it to Ole Miss. We changed the Ole Miss to a win.
Bro.
We initially had this at 5-7. So like this is one of those ones where we did look and we're like, this just doesn't feel right.
It still doesn't.
Is Oklahoma really gonna miss a bowl game at 5-7? 9-3. Look, I'm of the essence that Oklahoma's gonna win. They're gonna be a terror. They're gonna win some of these close games. I'm telling you. I think Auburn. As far as South Carolina, Tennessee, they could easily go 2-1 in those games.
This is a very 8-4 football team. This is a very 8-4 football team.
Stay away from the bets. I mean, look, I think the big look, and call me ESPN, man. Mateer versus the SEC. Is he going to succeed in the best conference in football? That's the big question. I mean, he had success in the past, but now we're in the SEC. So, can he do it? I think personally he can win a few games. But yeah. Thoughts? I mean, I think 6-6 is conservative. I think 5-7, the more we thought about it, probably wasn't the right play.
And if you made me change one, dude, I would change the Auburn game. I think it's more likely you beat Auburn at your crib than going on the road to beat Tennessee. And again, we don't really think as much for Tennessee as it relates to last year as this year, but it's still an incredibly difficult place to go play a football game. So we can pivot to a team that I'm really having a difficult time with, but I'm stuck here with Oklahoma because it feels like I want to give them an 8-4, but you take it game by game, and it's like, man, who do we give it to? And so we ended up giving it more to Ole Miss. And so as you look at Georgia State, Kentucky, Arkansas, Tulane, way to really line them up there, Lane. I think going into the LSU game, you should be expected to be undefeated. It today feels like LSU has a little bit more talent on that roster than Ole Miss as it relates to each side of the football. And I'm going with the quarterback here. I'm not saying they can't win this game. They absolutely could. They play Wazoo. I think they handled them. However, I do have a difficult time seeing them going to Georgia and winning. And I know that they beat them last year, but you're going to Georgia now. Georgia's pissed off. Going to Oklahoma, going to South Carolina. I think it's likely. Can you make an argument that they could maybe win at Oklahoma or win at South Carolina and lose to Florida? I think that's certainly, a possibility. But this schedule is set up for you to do well as it relates to the first 6 games. Can you get out of that 5-1? I think so.
Something feels icky about this team this year, though, dude. I don't know. I just have a bad vibe.
I don't know, man. I think Austin Simmons is good. I mean, there's one drive for me to be able to say that he is, but he looked fine, and I trust Lane and his development of the quarterback.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just they lost a lot, man.
I think the big thing is, can Lane stay consistent? I mean, I think that's a fair argument. I don't know. I mean, can he? That's a good question. But
yeah.
Well,
here's a fun one.
I mean, I think when you look at a lot of these teams towards the bottom, you probably stay away because, we're right on the number. But you have so many games. This is another team with 2, 4, 6. I mean, 7 games that are going to be close, including the game against Clemson. You've got. I mean, just look at that stretch after Kentucky, dude. I mean, jeez. I mean, we've got them going. 3-3?
Yeah.
That's where you win and lose here. I think they'll handle business early on and start off the season 5-0, possibly 4-1, depending on how good Missouri is. But I mean, you just run into a train wreck after that. I mean, that's just what you get in the SEC. I think we're really gonna figure out is Lenoris the guy? Like, is the hype real? Can he do it again? Because if you really think about it, like Heisman odds wise, kind of disrespected for the first team All SEC, right? I mean, like he's not. Is he in the top 3 in odds? Is he third? Because I know he's not. He's not first and he's not second. So should the SEC all first team quarterback be in the first or second in the odds? It feels a little disrespectful to me, right?
Feels disrespectful that you gave it to Lenore Sellers after the year that Garrett had. And that's not to say that Lenore doesn't have a higher ceiling or couldn't be better than Garrett, but what statistically did you see from Lenore Sellers for him to be voted number 1 overall in that? Like, it felt a little bit like a slight at Garrett, but good. And again, when you look at this on its face, losing to LSU, losing to Alabama, losing to A&M, losing to Clemson, does that sound? I mean, it sounds. Boy, T Money. Shout out to my boy Tyler, which, by the way, pause for a second. One of my best friends lives out in Houston. Just found out that they are going to have a second girl.
Let's go.
Claps in the chat. Big girl dad. Big girl dad. It's actually going to be the first. So check this out. This is going to be the first time in the Pelicans history that they actually draft not 1 but 2 shooting guards from the state of Texas. And they're not going to be guys. They're going to be girls. They're going to be the next. They're going to be the next Caitlin Clark. I feel it in my bones. Don't sleep on the shooters from the Fox family. But again, brother, okay, I'll do the same thing I did with LSU. Give me one game on here you change for them, whether it's give them an extra loss or another, or change it to a win. What game on here would you change for South Carolina?
You gotta win Ole Miss.
You would change it to a loss?
No, I mean, I just think you have to win that game in order to, at your 4, go 8-4. I mean, if you want that to be your 4 and possibly be a team that makes the playoffs, you have to win that game. I mean, I think you look at Clemson, you look at A&M, and you look at LSU. Those are 3 games. And then Alabama, those are 4 tough games, right? I think you have to win the ones outside of those 4 games. So, like, if you had to change one of those 4 I just named, A&M.
Okay. Listen, if Lenore Sellers is healthy and they're undefeated going into that game at Baton Rouge, that game is going to be rowdy, my brother. Rowdy. Okay. So we can move on to Tennessee, but I like that South Carolina one.
We're approaching. We got 7 minutes to an hour. We'll get it wrapped up before then.
Yeah, Jesus, can you lead the table on this?
I mean, obviously we had the drama with Nigo, caused a lot of interesting takes, especially not just like specifically with Tennessee, but just the notion of NIL. And I think you're going to start seeing here pretty soon, we're going to get that pretty regulated. I don't know if this is the straw that broke the camel's back, but like 8.5 wins juiced towards the under has you thinking it's going to be close. We had them going 9-3. So like we're leaning towards the side of like pretty aggressive towards Tennessee. But if you look at the schedule, bro, like
Oklahoma's the one that'll do it, bro.
I think Oklahoma, if you beat Oklahoma, how do you not go 9-3 with the schedule? I mean, I think Vanderbilt obviously can shock you.
Fighting Pavias.
But I mean, you got Florida, Oklahoma, and Georgia. I mean, those 3 games right there. If you go 1-2, I don't see how you don't get to 9 wins. We'll see. But I think their schedule, this is just a very good schedule alignment for Tennessee. It's not necessarily having the biggest faith in the team itself. I think the schedule just aligns perfectly for them. But Oklahoma, always going to be a team that plays spoiler, I think, with several teams this year. So
the fighting Pavias, dude.
Get out. If you can get 7.5 with a little juice towards the over, that's probably the play.
Shout out to my dog, Bo.
Shout out, dude. Shout out.
Big jujitsu guy here lately.
But yeah, I think you if you could find 7.5 with a little juice, that's gonna make the card for sure. And then my friends, my best friends, 7.5, and then this is really the only team we saw some variance on. Between DraftKings and FanDuel, it's aligned. It's just, if you want some juice, that's 7.5 on FanDuel. These odds were, I want to say, done yesterday. So like these could be subject to change.
Right.
But yeah, man. What are your thoughts here? I mean, I think 9-3 is probably the ceiling.
It feels like this offensive line is going to get them where they want to go. I said big jiu-jitsu guy. He said I'm just big. This A&M football team is going to go as far as their O-line and their quarterback can let them go, man. Do you let the LSU game be what sets the standard for them? I have a hard time seeing them going on the road to beat Notre Dame. If they do, hats off to them. I think that they take care of Auburn and State pretty easily. Florida can certainly be a game that we change depending on how healthy they are. And then going on the road to LSU is certainly a hard one to win. And then you have to beat South Carolina and Texas. You need to beat them in order to get where you want to get. And I just don't know if I can see them, going 2-0 in both of those games. So I think the over/under at 7.5 is a little bit low. I'm a little bit of the Texas 8-4. Even if they do what they normally do, they would get that over. So to me, it feels like 8-4 is a good safe one. But for us to even predict an extra win is good.
Yeah, I think it's your ceiling. I mean,
yeah,
you can get past Notre Dame, and we'll know this team's for real. But I think 9-3, 8-4 is probably your area. I think this one's pretty cut and dry here. I think. Obviously, week 1, banger, week 1 at Ohio State. We give them a loss, easily could be a win. I mean, this team could possibly go 12-0, but I think between Ohio State and Georgia, you're probably going 1-1 in those 2 games. So, like, these are just preseason picks, but, like, give me the over 9.5 here, minus 180. This is a combination of a pretty dang good team, but also a favorable schedule. Like I said, I mean, I think you really, outside of week 1, I mean, Georgia's a really tough test. I marked down Oklahoma for the rivalry, but just not a lot of. I mean, when you see teams like Kentucky, Mississippi State, and Arkansas, you got all for the big 3. If you have the big 3, dog, I mean, come on. A&M, camera's off. A&M will be tough, obviously. So, like, I didn't mark that down as a game I should have. I just don't see them having issues after what happened last year. And I think at the crib, you're all right. So pretty straightforward here. Take the over 9.5. And last but not least, man, let's close the show.
This is my favorite bet every year.
Mr. Pavia.
The Fighting Pavias at Vanderbilt. Listen, Charleston Southern, I think that Virginia Tech game is going to be super fun. I actually think the game in South Carolina is going to be fun. If they come out with and shock the world, or shock what we would think would be a good South Carolina team. Dude, if you could manage to beat South Carolina and Vanderbilt starts 5-0, can you imagine the type of coverage that they're going to get? Yeah. We obviously don't think that that'll happen, but in the event that it does, I mean, I obviously think it's kind of tough to ask them to go on the road to Bama and LSU. You get Missouri at the crib, going to Texas. I think they could easily beat Auburn too, and I don't necessarily think it's too far-fetched to say they could beat Tennessee, but going on the road to them.
Mizzou too. I think Mizzou's a home game you can probably
steal. And they've got enough games on here to get to 5, man. Come on.
You get to 5. I think 5.5 is where you draw the line. I think 4.5 is where you go. But this team can shock the world, man. I mean, they handled Bama. I was in Biloxi next to a bunch of women. I was like trying to focus. Like, I was like pissed because I had Bama on like a 12-leg parlay. like an idiot, and I went 11 for 12 on the parlay, and Bama was the one that lost. And I had these drunk people like from Bama, oh, we'll get them next year. I'm like, shit, man, like tough. That's a tough one to swallow. However, they handled Bama that game. Like it wasn't very close. So this team could shock the world. 5-7 is where I would land. Bet the over 4.5. It'll make my card. The card will be released before the season, and we've got a lot of good content from the betting perspective coming out. But we just wanted to break down kind of a high level breakdown here, right at an hour. Any last thoughts here, man? I think the big moral of the story is the SEC stacked. Is going to continue to be. It's the best conference in football, top to bottom. Obviously, you have some bottom guys with Kentucky, Mississippi State, Arkansas, but you're going to see a lot of teams in that 7 to 8 win range. Hopefully, it's not LSU this year. That's all I got to say.
And we'll certainly be here to cover it all. We'll certainly be here weekly, trying to put out a little bit more extra content as it relates to getting into the season. This is kind of the time where we're all excited for it, dude. But if you just look at Russo, we're 2 weeks away from a football game. Like I think 2 weeks, like yesterday, or 2 weeks today, rather. It's close. We're there. Obviously the week 0 is kind of a weak slate. So I understand there's, certainly a lot of people that are looking for a little bit more allure as it relates to, and pertains to good college football. But I mean, bro, you're getting the first Saturday in week 1, big noon, Texas and Ohio State.
Week 1's going to be fun, man.
Week 1's going to be
always is, but like this LSU on a Saturday this year, dude. Come on. Instead
of being like the very last thing that happens and the last thing that, and then we get a full day off of work the next day to mull over it. God, that sucked the last 5 years, dude.
Something just feels right. Something feels right. When I have hope, it's a good thing.
That is not untrue. That is not untrue. Let's put a button on it.
Like and subscribe to the channel, guys. We appreciate y'all. We had a lot of new people pop in the chat. We always love that. We're going to have some non-live videos coming your way. We've been working on that. Some TikToks, follow the page there. We're going to have that up and running next week. Any last words, man? Put a bow tie on this.
Super excited for what's to come. Let's maybe temper our expectations as it relates to reading news that comes from Twitter, guys. Let's calm down. Yeah, and let's get ready for a good season, brother. We've got obviously everyone's putting out practice footage. The Instagrams for the football teams are going crazy. You've got a Netflix documentary right now. Like, let's just all get ready to rock.
Ride. Let's enjoy these next 2 weeks. I mean, that's all I gotta say about that.
Enjoy doing what you typically do to enjoy your free time, because as soon as a college football team comes to ruin your emotions or make work feel meaningless, it's literally weeks away. So let's get hype.
All right, boys, and girls, y'all take it easy, have a great weekend, and we will see y'all next week.